Hello, everyone. I'm Tiana Summers reporting for Kids First, and today I'm speaking with Jim Cooper and Jeff Dixon about the Apple TV Plus show Curses. Mr. Cooper is known for DreamWorks Dragons, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, and Curses. Mr. Dixon is known for his work on The Hurricane Heist and Curses. Let's just start at the beginning with Curses. Starting with Mr. Cooper, talk to me about what made you want to get involved with this project.
Well, it's funny. We actually, Jeff and I, had totally separate careers for most of our careers. And we were both dads with our kids at the same elementary school. And we would drop them off at school and walk home together and just started talking about writing. I've done a lot in family animation, and Jeff has done a lot in horror. And we were actually talking about we really wish there was a family show that was like gateway horror that we could share with our kids. So really it kind of developed out of a couple dads really wanting to create a show with horror aspects that we love that we could watch with our kids.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool idea. I've never seen something like that before, and I definitely get that from Curses. So that's a pretty interesting backstory. Never heard that before. So, Mr. Dixon, talk to me about the actual creative process of creating the story for Curses, like the Vanderhoovens and their stories.
Coop and I had been developing this for many, many years. We had many different versions and directions and everything. We have a list of a couple hundred artifacts that we were potentially using for episodes. And so it was almost less about, what do we do with it and more about whittling it down to what to do with it because we had so much with it. And whereas the first season was really it was the two of us really building so much because we'd been developing for so long. The second season was really just like it just feels like the ultimate group effort.
I always love hearing about how everybody is really working together behind the scenes on a show like this. Like it's definitely I can tell by the show that it takes a lot of work. And just speaking of some of the behind the scenes work, Mr. Cooper, tell me about the animation. I personally found the animation super interesting. What kind of inspired the design of this?
Well, that was actually our supervising director, Leo Riley, and our art director, David Chung. They really wanted to go, how can we have a really interesting visual style that is like that tips its hat to the horror background? And there's an old comic book series from the 1950s called EC Comics. They had titles like Tales from the Crypt. You might have heard of that title. And they were like, wouldn't it be an interesting look if we had this old timey comic book look to it?
Mm, yeah.
But it's also computer 3D so that we can use all the aspects that's awesome about 3D computer animation with like fog and the lighting and moving the camera. And so the really interesting thing about that is it made it feel both old, which is kind of inherently scary. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You're like, this happened long ago, but also new and something familiar. And it was really their idea. And the minute they started talking about it, Jeff and I were like, you've got to be kidding. This would be awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah, it is awesome. I mean, now that you're saying, yeah, I'm making the connections, oh, I do get that comic book feel from it, but then being able to translate that into a 3D animation helps, appeal to generations in terms of the times, but also it's definitely something for families to be able to watch because everyone can find something that they like from it, which is definitely amazing. You don't see that a lot. So kudos to you both on that. So Mr. Dixon, talk to me about the receptiveness that you've gotten, especially being a creative and executive producer on this. Just what you've seen from Curses in this audience.
Honestly, we've just heard a lot of different things from a lot of different people because from the very beginning we always said we didn't want to just make a show for kids. We wanted to make a show for everyone that was accessible to kids. So kids liked it, but adults did too, and everyone in between. And so depending on who you're talking to, you'll get the different reactions. So for one of our favorite things that we always tried was we were always hoping to find this balance of scares but not too scary, and until you test it out there you don't know if you hit it. And so we never wanted to go too much, but we never wanted to go too little. And so we would get over the time we would get photographs from friends and executives of like their kids like watching it, but they're kind of like behind a blanket, you know, or hiding, or
Mhm.
they're snuggling into their parents or their
But not
and
leaving. Yeah.
but then as soon as it's over, going, I want to watch the next one. I want to watch the next one.
Mhm.
And so we're like, that was, I think, the most satisfying, is we achieved that level of scary, but not too scary. Yes, they're cutting behind a blanket, but they want to watch the next episode.
Yeah, that's definitely a incredible aspect to be able to have that part where it's like, oh my God, I'm so scared, but also as you said, like the introduction with the horror, like, oh my God, I'm so scared, but at the same time it's like I need more, I need that thrill. And it's great to have a show like that for youth, to where it's just entertaining. And I absolutely love this. I love hearing you both speak about it because definitely changes my take on it. And just more, Halloween is coming up. Season 2 is premiering just in time for Halloween. Mr. Cooper, what things that can we expect, or both of you can answer, what things can we really expect in terms of the scary aspects?
You know what? One of the things that we did, we wanted to make sure no two episodes were the same as far as the scary aspects go. So it's sort of like, okay, what's scary about this episode? Let's mix it up for the next one. What has been done before? So ideally, that you won't be able to predict it necessarily, going, oh, this is how they got me last episode. I'm ready for this episode, where it's like, oh, this is different. How is this going to resolve out? And so that was a lot of fun. And I really hope people look forward to that.
I'll add one thing. It's not necessarily a whole episode, it's just one scene. I will just say dolls.
Oh my God. Now I'm scared for it. Dolls
Yeah.
definitely can be very creepy. And just from curses itself, I know it's going to be quite the scene. So I look forward to that for sure. And for my last question, started with Mr. Dixon. What do you hope that audiences get out of watching curses?
Honestly, I just want people to, I mean, I know this sounds dumb, but I just want people to be entertained. I mean, like me as a person who really dives into horror, you'd think I just want to scare people, which is what I do want to do. But at the end of the day, I wanted people to watch a show that feels like they could actually get something from it. And I mean, I want them to be entertained by it. You don't want to preach to people, but I do want people to actually get something from it. And I think we did.
I would even take like learning stuff. A lot of times you're like, oh, learn about the culture or whatever. The one thing I love about the aspect of curses and what we were doing with the show is you want to look behind what caused this to happen. Why did this happen? What can you do to fix it? And that's
Right.
how we always viewed every object and every curse. It's not just it's bad, got to smash it or whatever, but it's sort of like that you realize sometimes things are different than what they appear. And that's what I'd love the audience to kind of look at anything going, oh, is that how it appears? What's the story behind it? Maybe I can understand it better.
Thank you both so much for speaking with me about Curses. For everyone watching, be sure to watch Curses Season 2, which streams on Apple TV Plus, October 4th, 2024. That's all for this interview for Kids First. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our next reviews or interviews. Again, I'm Tiana Sermons. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.